Kia ora, that's hello in Māori. Kia ora, everybody, and welcome to this session. I thought I would start with a bit of an introduction. So, ko waio means who am I? So, my name is Kate White, ko Kate White tōku ingoa. He Pākehā aho. I am a New Zealander of European descent. He tangata tiriti aho. I acknowledge the Treaty of Waitangi, New Zealand's founding document, and Māori as the tangata whenua, the first people of this land. These are the men in my life, my husband Anthony and my dog Bear. And I grew up in Dunedin, which is in the South Island. I have also lived about 6 years over different time periods in Odense in Denmark and speak Danish. I have lived a year in South Korea where I taught English. And this is before I was trained as a teacher. And it gave me an interest and passion in teaching. I lived a year in Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia working with children and young people. And a few months was spent in a remote location on the island of Mull in Scotland. And since 2009, Ashburton has been my home. I'm going to share a bit more about Ashburton in a moment. Just a bit of a sort of education background. I studied in Dunedin after I finished a year as an exchange student in Denmark. I studied back at home in Dunedin a double degree in community and family studies. That's like a social work degree and a theology degree. Later on, after my year in South Korea, I realized, oh, I actually want to be a teacher. And I also wanted to live in Denmark. And so being a student gave me a visa to live there for 4 years. So I ended up going there and training in Denmark. I returned home to New Zealand and after a few years got accepted into a program, a postgraduate diploma in immersion and bilingual teaching. It was a program all taught in Te Reo Māori, Māori language. That was here where I live in Canterbury, about an hour away. And this year I've completed a certificate in adult and tertiary teaching. And throughout the years, I've done a few different Māori language and Māori culture courses online and in person. Other things that I get up to, work. I've been a primary school teacher for quite a long time. Since 2018, I have specialised in Māori language teaching, but this has only been part-time because it was at this time that I started working for the charity that I'm going to talk to you about today. I've had different governance roles. I'm quite busy on a few boards. Recently finished with the local hospice, and I'm involved in 3 different Māori charities or boards, and also establishing a local community garden. When I was in Denmark, I was also managing a shelter for teens in crisis. So my interests are both in education and also community work, and I love that my current role combines them both. Cool. So just a bit about Ashburton, where I live. So officially it's called the Ashburton District, but most of us call it Mid Canterbury. So this is the South Island of New Zealand, and this bright green area is called Canterbury. Some of you may have been here. I don't know. I'll just let's see if I can see you all. Has anyone been to the South Island of New Zealand? Leonie. Yeah, so it's not as populated as the North Island. But anyway, Christchurch is the major city and it's 1 hour away from where I live in Ashburton. So Ashburton is the name of this district, but also there's a town called Ashburton, which is where I live. So that's the district there. It's kind of in the middle of the South Island. And it is called Hakatere in Māori language, and this area is on Ngāi Tahu land. So Ngāi Tahu is the Māori tribe whose land this is. I acknowledge them. So population-wise, the district has 37,000-ish people, and the town where I live is 21,600. So it's probably smaller than most of the places you live in. I'm not sure. Um, Agriculture is the main industry. About 20 years ago, there was a lot of conversions to dairy farming, and the other main agricultural sector is seed growing. So about 65% of the world's carrot seed is grown here in Mid Canterbury, and around 50% of the world's radish and beetroot seed. So there you go. If you're eating carrots, the seed might have come from here. Um, it is also home to New Zealand's top-rated ski field, which is Mount Hutt, and several braided rivers, which are where the waterways cross and braid. You can see one in the picture here. So yeah, we are on flat plains, the Canterbury Plains. The sea is in the distance, and rising up from the plains are some beautiful mountains. Just speaking a bit about the adult learning context of the district. 44% of adults in this district have a post-school qualification. So that's lower than the average in New Zealand, which is 54%. And on this chart, it just shows the top line is those with no qualification, and the blue is the Ashburton district, and the little green lines show the New Zealand average, the New Zealand percentage. So the New Zealand percentage for no qualifications is only about, it's less than 16%, but the Ashburton district, adults with no qualifications beyond school is more like close to 22. And if we look further down the graph, that's more and more education. So here's bachelor degree. There's only just over 10% of people that have a bachelor degree, whereas in New Zealand overall is close to 16%. Now, this might have something to do with the high level of agriculture in our community, and many people who live and work here don't need necessarily post-school qualifications. So a lot of work on farm doesn't necessarily require qualifications. A lot of it is learning on the job. So that may be one reason. Another reason is that we don't have many opportunities for post-school qualifications in Ashburton. So let's take a look at the learning providers that there are. So we have, this is Ashburton Learning Centre. It's a pretty old building owned by the Catholic Church, used as one of the main learning providers in town. The data here is from 2023. It's the most recent I could find. So they had about 500 students, but only at level 1 and 2, which is basic literacy, numeracy, English for second language learners, that kind of thing is what they do. Ara is the name of the polytech, and actually I work in my other job for Ara, teaching Māori to adults. And unfortunately, this local branch is closing at the end of this week. I finished teaching on Wednesday, and that's it. It's very sad for our students because that's really the only kind of tertiary opportunity in town, and it's now closing. So students have to travel an hour north to Christchurch or an hour south to Timaru to access Ara or the university. We have the YMCA, which provides foundation skills and levels 1 and 2 basic courses for students that have perhaps left school early or are struggling in a school setting, those students who are not in training or education, those young people. There's about 1,000 students who are in apprenticeships, and that's across a lot of sectors. The biggest one is primary industry, the top 3 primary industry, building, and automotive. And then there are not many at all who are doing online or distance learning, and those who are doing it part-time. I think it equated to less than 10 full-timers doing online or distance learning. And then Keep Learning Mid Canterbury, that's us. And we just do one-off talks and workshops. We offer no qualifications at all. It's adult and community education. So, New Zealand had a great history of offering adult and community education. About 100 years of night classes ended sadly in 2009 when the government of the day decided to stop funding what they called hobby courses. So, things like language learning, self-defense, beekeeping, bookkeeping, dancing, all those kinds of things that people would go to maybe at their local high schools or other facilities.
Yeah.
The government decided they should be user pays. And what happened is some carried on for a little while, but many disappeared. In Ashburton, they all disappeared. And in other places, they became significantly more expensive. So Keep Learning, we developed to partially fill this gap for community education. Cool. So, is everyone with me so far? Are there any questions? Am I talking too fast? Okay. Thanks, Judith. All good. I'll carry on. So, Connecting Mid Canterbury, that's the charitable trust that I work for. And I just wanted to tell you a bit about it so that you can get the context of how we operate here. Some of my current board members. So why was this trust started? Well, initially it started to because I wanted to set up a time bank and we needed a governing body to govern that. And so we set up this Connecting Mid Canterbury. Now, in my research, contacting other time banks in Canterbury, that broader green area on the map, I came across one time bank that offered a learning program as well as time banking. And I, being a passionate educator, thought, oh, that's great. We should do that too. And the board of the time agreed. And so we launched both the time bank and Keep Learning at the same time. So we were registered as a charitable trust in 2017 in July, and it was on October 1st, 2017, so just over 8 years ago, that we started the Time Bank and what we know now as Keep Learning Mid Canterbury. I'll give you a minute to have a read of our mission statement. So is there a word you can that pops out or anything you think sort of key in our mission? If you are there wanting to participate, take yourself off mute, or is there anything that you
Um, Kate, what
yes,
is regenerative? That stands out for me. I can understand
that
resilient.
yeah. So regenerative is, I guess it's a way of saying sustainable. Oh, my internet connection is not stable. Um, it's a way of sustainable, but in the terms that it will keep on going. So it's like a community that will sustainably, keep on going, I guess. Yeah. For me, I focus on the word connecting. It is connecting Mid Canterbury after all. And so for me, the aim is connecting people, services, and resources. So when I talk about all the things we do today, including with Keep Learning, so there's no mention here of education in this mission, but connecting people, services, and resources is what we do a lot in Keep Learning. Yeah,
That's what we do in learning communities too. You play a brokering role, so you're connecting people and finding out what other people have, I presume, and then making
exactly.
sure other people know what's in the community. That's an important role.
Yeah. And that is as you'll find out as I go along what we do really. Yeah. We don't have many resources ourselves, so we don't have a lot to offer ourselves, but we can connect, we play that connecting role of other people with resources or expertise or things to teach and connect them with the people who need the things or need the learning. Um, so we have a financial administrator who works just like 3 or 4 hours a month. And aside from him, I am it for our organization, and I work 25 hours a week on average. So some months it's more like 35. This time of year we quieten down, but overall 25 hours. So the time bank, which is what we sort of was the main thing when we started, has struggled to find funding and doesn't need as much someone to run it. It can run itself. If we have time, I can talk about time banking at the end if you're interested. But I've only got about 5 hours a week for time bank. Keep Learning gets more funding. It's more attractive to funders and they're happy to support it. So I have about 15 hours of per week of that. And the other 5 hours is to do a project around energy well-being, which is education, local lines company. And also on those 5 hours, I do funding and reporting and community networking and those kinds of things. So that's our charity. So Keep Learning Mid Canterbury is, in a nutshell, it's two things. So first is that we are a provider of one-off workshops and talks. So we provide adult community education, around 40 of these a year. And the other thing we do is that we have a website, and the website does what we were talking about before, not only show the events we organise, but all of the learning events that are run in the district by anyone. So just a few pictures to show you the kinds of things we do. This was a watercolor painting class at the art gallery. This is a talk around the impacts of colonization on the Māori language, and we had a panel of speakers who talked about how the impacts for them personally, their experiences of Māori language. This photo is from a forest art a workshop. We've also, in the same forest, done Shinrin Yoku, the art of forest bathing, and this is from a yoga class. In the year to June 30 this year, we ran 41 Keep Learning events. We had 691 attendees, and 98% of those who came to our events reported feeling better off. 100% of the people who came to this African dance and drumming workshop felt better off. They absolutely loved it. And ditto with the one pictured up here, which is a creative, it was a jewellery making class. So how do we know what topics to run, what topics to run events on? It started out what time bankers could teach. So in the beginning, the time bank was the main focus, and so I asked time bank members, what could you teach? And for example, we had one lady who loved to sew teddy bears. So she said, I can show people how to make teddy bears. So I said, okay, I don't know if any see what happens. Someone else was passionate about weeds and turning weeds into useful things, and they ran a workshop on that. At every event, we ask people what else they want to learn, what future events that we should run, and so we get good ideas from our attendees. And sometimes other groups, like community groups or businesses, will approach us saying, hey, I've got this message I want to get out there. Can we collaborate on making an event? So often I don't know whether the events will appeal or be popular. And sometimes I think, oh, this is going to be great. And then not many people come. And other times I think, oh, this might be quite good. And we're overwhelmed with the amount of people that want to attend. So it's quite hard to know. But we don't mind if there's only a few people who come to the events. It's not all about the numbers, but obviously we want to benefit as many people as we can and choose events that people do need. Uh, in 2021, we had a bit of a change. So before that time bank was the big thing for us, and Keep Learning was kind of consumed under that. And it was actually called the Learning Exchange at that time. And people got a bit confused and thought that you had to be a part of the time bank to come to the Learning Exchange events. And it was just all a bit blurry. And so we kind of gave Keep Learning its own identity. We got this logo, it got its own Facebook page, we set up the website. So before then, it was just us running a bunch of events. And we also, we developed the website with the aim of not just putting our events on there, but having everybody's events on there. So that has been running for 4 years. And the important thing about the website too is that people can sign up for notifications. So if they're interested in a particular category, they can choose that category and then get emailed whenever an event is listed in that category. So it's a great way for our community to know what's going on. As you could see, we live in a small community, but it is incredibly well served with great community organisations. And so actually there's a lot that happens. And because I was in the community, I was aware, I was getting the emails about the different groups' events. But Joe Public only heard about them in the newspaper after they'd happened, if at all. And so that's why I wanted to set up this website because we needed a one hub where everyone could go to find out what was going on. And so, yeah, since then, it has made it easier for many groups in our community to get their message out and let people know that they're running something useful. So, yeah, Leonie.
Kate, we've got a couple of questions. So
Oh, great.
on the topic you're doing at the moment, now Sharon asks, are all events free to the community?
Good question. We try and make them free, but some of them have a cost. For example, our cooking classes, they are charged at 20 New Zealand dollars, and that does not cover our costs. But we aim to make our events cost neutral or not too expensive to us to run, and so therefore we charge if there's cost involved, like ingredients or art materials, but otherwise try and make it free. Having said that, if an event has limited numbers, even if we don't have costs involved, we might charge because otherwise people register and then they don't turn up. So if we have a small cost, it means people think twice before they book. Um, and so, yeah, we ran, for example, we had an event called about running your own business, and we had 100 people register. So I was busy trying to get extra chairs for the venue, and on the night only 54 came, which was still a lot of people. But you know what happened to the other 45, and that's because it was free. So, yeah. It's a tricky one for us because we want to make things accessible, but at the same time, we also want to know actually how many people will come. And I think too, sometimes people feel that if an event has a cost, there's more value associated to it. Yeah, so we're actually I'm thinking about running a personal finances workshop. We're doing a future planning series next year and planning for retirement, that sort of in your mental health way, but also, and then one on future planning for your personal finances and getting that in order. And those kind of events would normally run for free. But I'm thinking that if we put a cost on it, people might see it as more valuable. It's kind of strange, but and might actually consider attending, and if they book, actually come. So I
You've got
hope that
another
answers.
couple of questions too.
Thank you.
Judith asks, do you need to pay to use the learning venues?
Yes, we do. Not the library, but which we use quite a lot. But the other venues, yes, we hire them. Sometimes we can run an event at a location of someone we're collaborating with. Yeah, but usually we have to hire the venues for cooking classes and bigger events we need to hire. the halls.
And Sharon has a follow-up question. Do you pay the event facilitators or are they volunteers?
Uh, I'll get to that shortly. So let's have a quick look at the website. So this is just a screenshot of the site. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of different classes. So, on this website, events are listed only that are currently underway and not yet finished or yet to come. So as soon as an event is completed, like I had one yesterday, it is gone from the website. So the events that you see here, the ones at the beginning, for example, this Ashburton Learning Centre computing class, the classes started in September. They're still going on till December, so it's still appearing here. So there's a few that are kind of ongoing things. We've got the University of Canterbury's short online courses, art gallery
I
exhibitions.
think we're just seeing your screenshot actually.
Good. So that's a shame you can't see the website, but in your own time you can have a wee look at it. The screenshot that you can see then. Basically, if you're interested in an event, you just tap the image and then it will flip over and give you the key information. And for every little card, there is a more information button. And then when you click on that, it will take you to whichever group is running it, their website or the registration page or a poster if there's no registration required with the details. So obviously that's easier if you look at it yourself. And in the top right corner, there's something called email notifications, and that will be that's where people can sign up and they can choose all kinds of categories. So if they're interested in arts and crafts, business, governance, Māori, anything, they can just tick the boxes of the things they're interested in, pop in their email address, and then they will receive emails from whenever any new organisation lists an event that's tagged in that category. So for me, that's the best thing about the website, is that people can get emails about it. They don't have to remember and go keep checking. They'll get emails that will tell them about new events. Okay, try and move on from here. Here we go. Okay, so this this is just data from the last 12 months up to June 30, which is the end of our financial year. So we had 54 different groups list their events on our website, which is a lot for a small town, 54 different groups. So that includes the library, the art gallery, Presbyterian support. They do parenting courses, mental health groups, all sorts of groups that run anything learning related. Yeah, so there were 54 of them that listed this last year. In total, there were 269 events listed, and we had 232 new sign-ups to get those automated emails I was telling you about. So in total, there's over 700 people getting the email notifications now. It's free for groups to list their events on the website. If they only run one or two a year, I can do it for them. Otherwise, I give them the instructions and there's a little instruction video and they're away and they find it easy to create their own events and load them up. So we operate on a shoestring budget. And I wonder if anyone wants to have a guess at what our whole organisation's budget might be for a year. Anyone want to have a guess? No guesses? Um, I now can see the chat and I see that Judith's asked a question. Uh, where is it? Judith asked, does the website allow people to register for the events as well? So yes, so when they go to our website, of course, there's so many different organisations that list there. Everyone has to have a more information link. And so when they click on the more information, that will take them. In our case, all our events are listed on Humanitix. That's the platform we use. Some people use Eventbrite, and others might have their own website registration pages. But yeah, when they click on more information, it will take them to where they register and then they register for the event. Yeah.
Kate, we have a
So,
guess on the chat too.
oh yes, a guess on the chat. Um, was that 50,000 Australian? Are you guys Australian? Yeah.
Yes.
Good guess. A bit more than that though. Yeah, so our budget for a year is less than 70,000 New Zealand dollars, which actually, what is that in Australian dollars? I'm not sure. I put the thing there for the US. It's less than, well, actually, this past year was almost exactly 39,000 US dollars, our budget. So just over half of our budget is for Keep Learning Mid Canterbury. And to answer the previous question, our we do not pay our tutors unless we have specific grants to do so. So, really, the only grant we get for specific events is something called Creative Communities New Zealand. So, we usually get $1,000 or $2,000 from them to run an event each year. And this year, we ran what we called African Dance and Drumming Experience. It was a full day workshop, mostly drumming, and finished off with a bit of dance. And we paid the tutors. They came from Dunedin, which is about 4 hours away, 4 hours away. So we had to pay their travel costs and their time, and the hiring of the drums, etc. So we paid them, and that's only because we had specific funding to do so. Almost everyone else teaches because they are passionate about the subject. So they are interested in it, or because it fits in with their work role. So, for example, we've had suicide prevention workshops, and the guy who is sort of in charge of suicide prevention in our region, it's his job to get the message out about how we prevent suicide. He wants to be doing talks, so he's only too happy to collaborate with us to run that workshop. And that's, that would be he'd be being paid by his work to do that, so we don't pay him. Um, oh, thank you. Someone's put that it's 60,000 Australian dollars, our budget. Yeah, cool. So moving on. So, collaboration is the main message I wanted to talk about today. And so we can't do anything. We couldn't exist, Keep Learning, without collaboration. And I want to give you some examples of how we have collaborated with others, and that's how we've been able to do all that we do. So I hope it's interesting for you. First up, we've collaborated with students. These are 5 students who I've never met. They live in the United States and are part of a youth time bank. And they created our logos, the Keep Learning logo and the Connecting Mid Canterbury logo. So we didn't pay them. They received some time credits from their time bank for the work that they put into designing our logos. And we also used closer to home some students from Dunedin, from Otago Polytech. That's the other main city in New Zealand, Dunedin. Sorry, in the South Island. It's south of us, about 3.5 hours, and students there who were doing some kind of IT degree. It was in their final year, and it was a very strange way that I found out about them, but it was exactly the right time that I needed some people to design our Keep Learning website, that I found out that there were students who were looking for a project for their final year. So we had 4 students, one of whom was exceptional and is still our IT guy today. But in 2021, he was a student, and he and the other students designed that website that you've seen. So we didn't pay a cent for that. Well, we paid very minimal web hosting and domain name, charges, but the design of it was all done by students. Yeah. Cool. Other people we collaborate with is the library. So the library, I love our local library. We've also got a new library, which is a fantastic venue. It's coming up 2 years. It's been open. We've run a Fix It fair with them, and this was not only collaborating with the library, but also other groups, people could come into the library and get their items fixed. And so we had Canbead, they were there, they're a art therapy charity and working with jewellery. And so their volunteers were able to fix jewellery. We had the men's shed doing handyman fixes, digital waitaha helping people with their devices, time bankers were there doing mending and upholstery repairs. And the library was the host, a wonderful venue for all of this. And this was great because if we'd run it in a hall or somewhere else, I think it wouldn't have had the same vibe. And also, we may not have got as many people. But the library is a trusted venue and it's a popular venue. It's very central. People are used to, going in and out there. So it's a great place to hold events. Um, we've also held. Oh, we hold garden conversation hours there. This is kind of a time bank event, kind of a keep learning event. We do it twice a month, where people who love gardening get together and connect and share their love of gardening and learn from each other and discuss issues and so on. And we ran this year a lifelong learning festival, which, if I have time, I'll share more about later. The library's also been the venue for the Death and Paperwork series we've organised, Chickens 101, Māori language classes, and many more. We collaborate with local businesses. This year, or was it last year? We ran Running Your Own Business, and the people you can see in the top photo are all local business owners of varying types of businesses, and they shared their experiences about running a business. And that's the event I mentioned before. We had over 50 people there, and it was great. So all those business owners gave up their time. I guess they might have got a bit of promo for their own business, but really they were there to help their community, which was great. The photo below is a woman who's an educator from a bank. Her role, in one of her main roles, is to educate around financial literacy. So we've collaborated with her running a few events about being money wise. We've had recently a personal coach who was keen to share, to get more experience speaking to groups. And she ran something called Permission to Pause, a workshop for women who do too much. Don't know if any of you are in that category, but it was great. And yeah, and I guess in a way it would have benefited her, some bit of PR for her, and maybe some people might have signed up to get, emails from her or coaching from her. But really, she was happy to do it. We didn't pay her. I just reimbursed her travel costs because she lives rurally, so she traveled about 50 kilometers to get there. And so we just reimbursed her costs, but otherwise she did that as a volunteer. We had the CEO of our local lines company run 2 different talks for us on things he was passionate and interested in, passionate about. So one was on electric vehicles and one was on solar power. We've had local law firms. We've never approached law firms to be part of our presentations, but we've had more than one contact us saying, "Oh, I see you're doing an event on such and such. Can we be part of it?" And offered to be part of it, which we said yes to. We work a lot with other not-for-profits. There's something called the Hakatere Multicultural Council, and with them once a month, we run an international cooking class. So this one was a taste of Japan. The lady on the right is Japanese, and she was sharing with the 12 people that can come to these cooking classes how to cook Japanese food, and then everybody's involved in helping and preparing, and then they sit down and eat together. So it's a learning event, but it's also a really great connecting event. And often we have people from different countries who attend. In fact, so this lady's Japanese, this lady's from Nigeria, this one's Russian, this one was born in England, and that one was born in Northern Ireland. Sometimes we only have 1 or 2 people who are actually born in New Zealand who attend these events, which is wonderful. There's a lot of, cross-cultural exchange and learning and enjoyment And the migrants who are running the classes, sometimes they're nervous beforehand. They've never done these kind of things before. But some of them with tears in their eyes at the end have enjoyed it so much and have got so much out of it and are so excited to have been able to share about their culture and oh, they loved my food and they were so interested in my country. It was a real buzz for them. So that's really neat to give them that opportunity. And so we work with the Multicultural Council they help us find the people from different cultures. And I do most of the organising of the event. We have a non-profit called Community Law. Perhaps you have the same type of thing in your countries, and they offer free legal advice, and they also have people who do education for the community on legal issues. So we've run events around wills and around retirement villages and also workers' rights. We've worked closely with Hospice Mid Canterbury, usually about 4 events a year we run with them. We had an event last week on understanding grief, and we've run events on different cultural understandings of death, caring for the carer, and that kind of thing. We've run classes with another nonprofit for parents around keeping their kids safe online. Neighbourhood support, we ran an event on scams. And Eco Educate, we've done lots of creative, practical things like upcycling and recycling, repurposing. Yeah.
Kate,
Yes.
we want to have about 10 minutes for general discussion. So can
Okay.
I give you about 5 minutes left? And we have a question here about specifically on the Learning Festival. Because people here do offer learning festivals. So could we make sure you cover that in the last 5 minutes? Thank you.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, we collaborate with health providers as well. So we've run a menopause event with a naturopath. A doctor's approached us offering to do this one for next year, how to get the most out of your short doctor's visit. We've had events on rainbow services, talk about periods, talk about that with your kids, and depression support network. All sorts of things. I'll skip through these. We've run Have a Go events with local clubs and groups. So this is one we ran recently at the bowling club. We've also done similar thing with golf and with knitting groups and the Mahjong group, where people could have a go. So those all use their venues and their people and their expertise. Recently, we've worked with our local council. They are keen to meet the needs that they've identified in the community and see us as a good partner. So events we've run are dog ownership. So they had lots of sort of issues around that. So we've run that, and they organised the speakers, the vets, and other people that were on the panel for that. They also organised lots of prizes. We did one around food safety. They've also organised, in collaboration with some others, around governance training for nonprofit organisations. So yeah, and we hope to run more for business as well next year. So that's a new thing from this year. And that came about with regards to the learning network, which we were establishing, which hasn't really gone anywhere for a while because of changes of staff at council. Collaborate with the art gallery and museum on all kinds of arty things, and our local marae, which is a Māori meeting place where we've had flax weaving and stone carving and other things. Before I talk about the Learning Festival, which can be the last thing, what do you think are the benefits of collaboration? I guess from hearing all the different ways that we've collaborated with people, you can probably see that we're able to do more with a limited budget because we can share costs. In the case of the cooking classes, for example, we work with another group, we share the costs of that. We're able to access experts so we can create better programs. We can also find out the needs. So community groups talk to us about the needs they're seeing in the community, and then together we can work on finding the solutions and offering events that meet those needs. We can share our expertise. So I'm good at event organizing. I can book venues and do write-ups and get people along to events, welcome them, and then I can use the expertise of others to actually deliver the workshop. So that works well, and it helps them as well in many cases to get their message out. Also, working together increases the visibility and reach of both organisations or both groups, can help build credibility, find new audiences, and also help to strengthen community ties. So building really good relationships with our community. So it's all about connecting in with those who've got skills and resources and enabling them, sharing that with others. The Learning Festival, this was a one-off thing we ran this year in September. I organised it together with the library. We held it at the library. There were over 30 providers there, and all of them had to have something interactive at their stall. I didn't want it to be tables and brochures because that's really boring. So everyone had to have something interactive. In the picture, we've got a virtual reality headset. That was our local Ministry of Social Development, and people could trial the learning modules that they have for different careers. And other people had, quizzes or games or different things at their stalls. So we had the providers I mentioned earlier and also other groups, ones we've collaborated with, also some study support and like people that offer scholarships for studying, they were there. And at the same time, so these people, all of these things were all around the library on both floors. And so people would walk through and find all the different providers. And then in the event space, the tiered seating area, we had a program of speakers and demonstrations. In hindsight, it was a bit much going on. It was very busy. We had about 400 people there, which is massive. And we had free food. We collaborated with the local Lions group. We paid for it, but they staffed the free hot chips and sausages. We had prizes. We had the Children's Day Committee looking after the children's area so that parents were able to go and explore while the kids were being minded. And yeah, we had over 30 providers. So a lot of different interactions. We had a lot of Pacific Island community there, which was great to see, and other ethnic groups. So yeah, that was the Learning Festival. I'm happy to take questions about that or anything else.
Okay, thank you, Kate. I think what I'll leave it there because I'm conscious I want people to ask questions. But my comment is, for a small town and for for a limited budget, the amount of activities you do are really impressive. You've you've actually managed to connect with a range of community people, from business right through to multicultural groups to sporting groups and the library. So I think well done. And one follow-up question, was Keep Learning formed, or your organisation formed as a result of withdrawal of funding for adult learning in 2009? Was that part of the reasons?
No, it was formed to govern a time bank. And then because we saw another time bank was doing a learning thing, and I said, hey, what about this learning thing? And people were like, yeah, let's do that too. So we did that. But that was we were also aware that there was no learning providers, doing that kind of stuff in the community. So it was to fill that gap, but not it didn't start from that point. Yeah, but it was acknowledged that this would meet the gap left by the close of Menaloo. Mm.
Anyone else want to comment now, please? I'll open it up for you to.
I can see a question in the chat from Sharon. Yeah, there was a lot of activity in 3 hours. It was crazy. And the appetite to run it again. So I was the lead organizer, and I don't have an appetite to run it again, not for a few years, because as you know, I have 15 hours a week to do Keep Learning, and this was really a massive project, a massive undertaking. So next year it was run in Adult Learners Week, and next year we want to do the library and I want do something else for Adult Learners Week. And instead of making it so massive, we've decided for next year anyway that we're going to focus on promoting art activity. So all the opportunities in our district for the arts. So that will be, the pottery group and the art gallery, the choir, the theatres groups, and we'll have perhaps each day there might be some kind of event that highlights, where people can try these things. So we're going to sort of narrow it down, and maybe the following year it's some other, tertiary providers or something like that. So
Um,
yeah, it was a bit much in one go.
Judith has a question there.
It's about the loss of funding and whether there's a possibility of reinstating that funding, whether as a group you've now identified there's a need for this adult learning and for community learning, whether you do any responses to policy or any kind of lobbying to try and get funding reinstated.
So the funding that was cut in 2009, that was across the board, like nationally. And unfortunately, things haven't got much better. We've got that right-wing national government back in, and they've cut further funding this last 2 years to that's the reason that ARA is closing, that Polytech, because the funding is going. We've got huge demand.